Friday, the 20th day of July 2012. I am your host, Simon Kagwanjala. Today we wrap up our week with an analysis of captivating stories that have made headlines during the week. And with me in the studio are three distinguished analysts to give us their commentary on these issues and a full digest. I have Mr. Nicholas Opiyo, a distinguished lawyer. Welcome aboard.
I think you're overpraising me. I'm just a simple, small lawyer in town. But thank you very much for welcoming me, and good evening, listeners.
I also have Mr. Charles Rwomushana, former head of political intelligence at State House and still politically active.
The Almighty God is great.
You're still alive.
Just has become so religious of late.
There are too many formers on your list, on your CV. What's up with you now?
The problem is the method of the future.
Okay.
Deployment, because if I
should we say you on Katebe for now?
The method
awaiting deployment.
The method is the how they assume the post of the future.
Okay.
and you know there are some of the methods are unlawful. They may say, so because we want those jobs and
okay. I also have Imam Kasozi, a Muslim cleric and lecturer at IUIU. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you and good evening, viewers and listeners.
I can also only say happy Ramadan. You're already starting. Great. And well, it's been a very eventful week. We started off the week with the announcement that government was planning to cover out 25 districts, which has caused uproar amongst MPs and a section of the civil society, arguing that this could be another burden to the taxpayer and it would also increase the cost of public administration. We also had the teachers' strike. We'll also be having several other issues that will be discussed during the show. But for now, let's start with the creation of districts. We're looking at 25 new districts that will bring the total of new districts to 137. We're looking at Bunyangabu, Butebo, Bugweri, Kagadi, Kakuto, Kakumiro, Kaperabyong, Kasanda, Kazo, Kilak, Chitagwenda, Chadondo, Chotera, Nabiratuk, Namisindwa, Omoro, Pakwach, Rwanda, Ruchiga, and Rwampara. The question I would pose to you, starting with Imam Kasozi, do you see any sense in creating more districts at this moment?
Thank you very much. I think my stand has always been very clear. If I was given one opportunity, I would carve probably Uganda into about maximum 40 districts, not beyond that. Or I would go to the traditional 16 that were in Uganda at the time of independence, because what we are assuming, we are just expanding expenditure without increasing our income, and therefore we are putting pain to the taxpayer and the ordinary person whom we claim that we are serving best by creating a new district station somewhere, is suffering, because in the final analysis, what is he going to get? Nothing. But probably they will get a new MP for the women, they will get a new RDC, a cow, a DPC, and those others. All those
look at it in terms of job creation.
You cannot create jobs without expanding the income. You are straining your own economy. So what I see, people are just utilizing, they are just exploiting the ignorance of the several Ugandans out there and saying that we are bringing services nearer to you, and therefore we are creating these smaller units, which in the final analysis will not help the development of this country. What I think, yes, to me as a person, we don't need to subdivide ourselves into these minor and tiny units any further. We need actually to go and rewrite the several. If you go back and say Mpiji, let it go Mpiji, Butambala, Gomba,
you think would be
yes,
merged again.
Butambala, Gomba, Wakiso, Mpiji goes back to Mpiji. It makes some sense.
Wouldn't that be huge and so amorphous?
It cannot be. It cannot be. Some countries have very big states within themselves, and they are running very comfortably. Okay, so it is not the creation of the district that brings the service. It is the determination of those in power and those giving the service that will deliver. The reliability, the honesty and the transparency of those who are charged with the responsibility. Therefore, my take is, it is not helpful to Uganda at all. It is not helpful to a Ugandan at all to subdivide this. I want to imagine now, look at the former Kawale district. Well, formerly it was Kigezi. And now it has Kongiri, Kanungu, and Kanungu has also now is being subdivided. Then you go.
I don't think
they mentioned Chi and something else. They want to create a Chi district. Then you move to Kabale. Kabale now you find Rubanda, Ruchiga. You remember even Chisoro previous was part of Chigezi. It was part of Chigezi, the whole of that. So what I think it is to go back and we rethink and say, what do our people deserve? Do they deserve these smaller units whereby we are going to subdivide actually what would be for Kawale now is going to be subdivided into 3 so that they cater for Rwanda, and in the process of subdividing, somebody will take a certain percentage in the process. And finally, what is the result? 0 services.
Charles Rwomushana, well, in creating more districts, you would argue that government is responding to calls from the people. Wherever the president has gone, there have been calls for districts. At least at every rally, you've been hearing people urging the president to grant them a district. So he's finally delivered on the promise. And the Minister of Local Government argues that the essence of this is to bring services closer to them.
normally it's not normally the case. Like in the case of Ampara, I'm informed it was in the speech of the Member of Parliament, Honorable Chama did. Actually, he had promised, I will bring a district. And when the president was there, I think in the campaigns, he requested for a district, and the president was not comfortable with it. Actually, in the several of the discussion that ensued, he was trying to discuss. Of course, the process is very elaborate, but I didn't want to go into that, take that kind of direction. I wanted to look at the open information we have, the open knowledge we have about creation of districts, and the underlying or the other hidden motives, because there are also other hidden motives.
Speaking like someone who has an intelligence.
Now then you make it worse. People will not talk.
Okay, go ahead.
When you say you are bringing services near enough to the people, which services are you bringing? Because the catchphrase has always been, we are bringing services nearer enough to the people. When you create what is in a district, what service is given is rendered by a district, it's an administrative unit for the president. It's an administrative unit for what you would call government, the central government. And here you have the cow, you have the DOs, maybe you have the people who have to do with the lands, probation officers. There are a number of them. So in other words, if you want to bring services near enough to the people, you can post people doing similar things at the sub-county level. So that if a person wants to register his piece of land, and you're talking about the district land registry, you can even have an extension of the land registry at the sub-county. In other words, you can bring a service nearer enough, even to the village, without necessarily giving them a unit. You can bring the services of a sub-county up to parish level without making a parish a sub-county. A sub-county. So that's how it's arranged. But because you are dealing with the parliament, whose majority of members whose qualifications are equivalent to A level, when you say services, you say bringing services near enough to the people. What are you talking about? Because even the road maintenance units for works were removed. And why are they removed? They are removed because they are all the people who are going to be given tenders. Now, those ones they wanted to give tenders who are their own people are fewer than now the districts we have. So they get paralyzed. There is money, but they don't have whom to give money. And now they say, no, I think we'll go back to our road maintenance units. Why? Because they now have machines and they don't have spare parts for those machines. Do you own for their own farms, for their own tractors? So you're now buying new machines where you will get spare parts to service their machines. You see? So the underlying factors in our opinion is about land. The most important unit in a district now is the district land board. So when you see very many small districts being created, then you know there is 1 or 2 districts that they are aiming at, and the other ones are just to cover. So if you want to create a district somewhere in PG, but for a specific reason, you will give others, like 10, and the other now comes in. Now you wait because you can't bring all of them at once, so you will wait for another batch. You create another 10 and then you bring.
So there is a sinister motive in this.
I don't know what you call it. That is visible. Whether it's sinister, whether it is holy, whether it is right, that's none of my business. But I'm saying these are strategies. So now you need to analyze these districts. There must be 1 or 2 districts where there is land and public land due for grabs, and there are specific people who are supposed to access this land. Now, when they have that district, you will have the management set in place, you will have the district land board set in place, and after you have done that, then they now go for land. That is why here in Kampala, the most contentious issue is the office of this land, the Kampala land board. And we are talking about these other things, those are peripheral. The most important unit was that land board. And as soon as they came, it became what? It became contentious. And you can see what is going on. Police is investigating. It has rocked the premises. I don't know. It's now counting the amount of dust in that office. I don't know. But it will be like that until a suitable person is there, and as soon as that person is gotten, then land titles people begin having the.
What then will be the fate of sub counties and?
I don't know. All those are inconsequential. All those are inconsequential. The most important thing you should now look at is there public land? So there are some areas that get districts as a result of the other intention. And I didn't want to go into this because it can create unnecessary problems. You go and study the dynamics in Munyoro, go and study the dynamics in Toro, go and study the dynamics. The actual case is also a little bit sensitive. I don't want to cause you problems.
So, Nicholas, looking at the way districts are created, it's really interesting because Cabinet just wakes up one day. You know, people ask, a section of people ask for a district, and then here is the president saying, let there be a district. Then Parliament approves. Is it that too simplistic?
Well, I think it is, and you've got to ask yourself, why is it that simple to create a district? And Charles has ably discussed the economic driving factors for that. You know, it's principal land, and I just want to discuss the political aspect of it because I think that if you just look across African states, many of these states where the incumbent is losing popularity, or an incumbent has a burden of a lot of people he needs to satisfy, what he then does is weave around a system of patronage. You know, you then create these units to be able to then send your hangers on, you know, people to go and have, you know, become RDCs and have some powers. You have an DISO, a ISO, a PISO. So it's just a system of feeding the patronage to keep the system running. And then the creation of districts is just one such avenue where you want to have, you know, a district woman MP, you want to create more sub-counties, you want to create more villages, to be able to then channel these guys who have lost elections, the guys who have failed and are now giving you problems, you then send them there. The second aspect is that you then seek to destabilize a particular powerful MP who is becoming a problem. You know, if you think that the MP for Cleric is becoming more of a problem to the movement, what you do is then weaken him, subdivide his constituency, and then get your own MP in the other half of the constituency. Of course, also just a reward. I mean, the president went to Omoro in his campaigns and promised that if you elect Jacob Olanya, we'll give you a district. So what he does is use this as a system of weaving patronage.
Are we looking at a president who is delivering on his promises?
Absolutely not. because the president's promises were not about creating districts. The president's promises were delivering services to the people, improving infrastructure, improving hospitals. All of this he hasn't delivered on them. And you see, if you then take a cost-benefit analysis of these new districts, these districts have been created before. What has happened in those districts? Take, for example, our Moro district, which was carved out of Gulu district. What do you have? You have a district that is non-functional. You have a district where you don't have, a functioning district unit. What you have are just offices, people who don't sit there, people who sit in the verandas in Gulu town and just consume government money. In terms of services, nothing much has changed. There's no improvement in the health system in Amoro. There's no improvement in schools. All of this. I've been to Lamore. The only visible thing you see in Lamore are new electric poles. Besides that, there are no improvement in terms of the schools. The schools are still in the same state that they were in when Lamore was part of Kitgum district. The same schools in Lamore are still the same schools, in the same structure, the same weakness.
Do you feel these new districts will bolster NRM's support on the ground?
Well, in some areas, it's going to excite people, especially the people who have been, clamoring for districts for their own reasons. Of course, they will then line up behind the movement. I mean, what is then important is that every district has a district woman MP. What you're going to have is an increment of numbers of movement MPs in Parliament. You're then going to have a new district woman MP, which will all certainty will be a movement candidate, and no multi-party candidate will win a district woman MP seat. You're going to have then more women MPs, and then you have an increment in movement vote. What they have lost in the by-elections, they will recover them in these new districts. So you're still going to have a system that will feed into the patronage system to bolster the movement government, but not necessarily increase its popularity in the country.
Well, we'll move on to the next issue. Well, still at the beginning of the week, we saw teachers going on a sit-down strike. It received mixed reactions. Some teachers went to class and taught. Others preferred to sit down, to heed a directive from the Uganda National Association of Teachers Union, and they went on a sit-down strike. This is a strike that was supported by civil society organizations, and the Ministry of Education came out and warned civil society organizations that had in a way incited the teachers to go on a sit-down strike, that action would be taken against them. Let's look at this teacher strike. Did they have a cause, and did they achieve anything?
It is clear in everybody's eyes in this country that the teachers have a cause. If you are creating more districts and you cannot pay the teachers, then why create them? Why can't we transfer all these funds into the education sector and improve it? You see, what is interesting in this country is we don't ask questions. I was in Ntungamo recently, and they told me it was a municipality. I wondered very much. There is no clear building you can mention in Ntungamo
that defeats a district.
There is no road in Ntungamo. They don't have the numbers of people, but it is a municipality. It is really very interesting, because it takes me back to think whether we are serious or those who taught us deceived us. You see, there are certain things they are playing on our psychology. So the teachers in this country, okay, I am one of the people who employ the teachers. We don't pay them very well. Certainly we don't, because the education cost in this country is too cheap. Probably the most expensive university in this country, it takes about $500 a semester, and every parent will cry. But what is $500? In other places, that's why you find it is easier for the Rwandese, the Sudanese, the Kenyans, the Tanzanians to come and study from here, and it is hard for a Ugandan to want to pay for himself in Kenya or any of these other countries, because the costs there are almost 3 times, 4 times than what we pay here. But because of poverty, we think that education in this country is very expensive. It is really very, very cheap, one of the cheapest globally. So, if we are putting in less, we cannot expect to pay the teachers highly, and consequently the teachers have all the reasons to strike or to sit down. Some I know will continue. They will go and teach because they are teaching in schools which are exploiting the parents. Okay? And these are government schools. You'll find a government school charging much higher than a private school. And the government school, or a government-aided school, gets almost all the salaries from the government. It gets some funding from the government, science equipment and whatever they bring. But this private school buys for its own and then pays its own teachers. So that is the difference. We are unfortunate. Unfortunately, the teachers are misjudged, and therefore we as people who think that we need a better education system, we want people to be trained in real training, we are the people that we must actually support the teachers' cause in order for somebody to think about increasing their salary.
Well, among the issues that the teachers raised or highlighted during their strike is the appalling state of the UPE and USE schools. Do you really feel it's that bad? Our education here in Uganda is in a crisis.
You know, I don't want to say, I don't want, simple and clear. I studied in Kitunga High School. Kitunga High School benefited from the first IDA project. The buildings that were built in 1968-69 in Kitunga High School are better than buildings that are being built for USE schools and UP schools in 2012.
Because the numbers are overwhelming.
Not the numbers.
Quality of the building.
I am talking about the quality of building. You cannot compare those buildings and what they are building today. So that means, therefore, our education system, if we don't become serious, we will go to the dogs.
Well, I'll ask you to hold on to that and we'll go for a quick break. When we return, we'll still be revisiting the issue of the teachers' strike. Don't go west. This is Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
So unbelievable na yatenga vyaddala tekibadde ise yadde nakamo bendera waggulu bulaka tuli beautiful yero wakasana kafenga kasufu ready brotherhood eyatero wetugatta
Tuchakale with Airtel today and celebrate 50 years of independence. Get up to 100% bonus to call across all networks. That's not all. Stand a chance to win a motorbike daily and a car every week. Simply top up every day. Get up to 100% bonus. Dial star 162 hash. Press yes or okay. Start the 50 years independence celebration of Uganda today with Tuchakale from Airtel.
John, Mike and I, we go back a bit. We knew John at the beginning, working for someone else. But he was different. He had vision, saw opportunities. He started working towards his goal, opened his own garage, and worked, learning the hard way. His reputation spread. Trust, consistency, quality. Soon people were coming to him from all parts. He made himself and his whole street prosper, and also helped friends, seeing potential in people and helping them on. But John never shouts about all his success. He's just who he is. Special.
So here's to men like John, who make a difference, who enjoy Nile Special, the rich, satisfying taste from the source. Nile Special.
You've earned it. Not for sale to persons under 18.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Welcome back. We're still reviewing the big stories of the week. This is Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. Well, we're still continuing with the teachers' strike. Charles, government has not come out with a response, a substantive response to the teachers' demands, among which there was an issue of salaries, state of our education. Instead, the Minister of Education warned civil society organizations which had awakened teachers in one way or the other.
She's a soldier, so you understand her mindset.
So the teachers, what they were now doing was politics. You see, everybody sees problems, the problem that we have. If there is mismanagement, if there is corruption, if there is non-compliance to constitutional provisions, you will see them. Now, it depends upon how you act, how you respond. Now, when you respond, then you become political. For the time I've worked for government, you always advised to look on. Why do you want to be vigilant? If others are not working, also don't work. If there is no fuel, if you use your own money to buy fuel, it's an offense.
Is that the mindset of this government?
No, I'm saying it's in traditions come. Because I'm a victim of those kind of situations where you would go in school and there are no teachers because I started from hard to rich areas. But we used it to depend on PTA. When I taught in Masaka, Matanga Primary School, Mpugwe, all those areas I taught, the parents were giving us matoke, food. And if they gave you more than enough, you would have sacks of matoke and you send them to Kampala in here and make money. You see, that's how we're living. The respect we got from parents. Msomesa, you know the way they would run, and I really loved the way Uganda was handling us. It would entice you to move on. You move on, you don't have a trouser, you don't have a shoe, you don't have one, but you move on. You see, because we had respect from the population, we had some dignity. That was the pay. You would cherish having the children pass and meet them when they are big men. And because when I meet teachers who told me there is one I found dying for lack of 20,000 shillings. One of the best teachers of English we have in Buganda Secondary School, his problem was that he didn't have money to buy antibiotics. 20,000. 20,000. I didn't give him more than that. That's all that he needed. And this is a fellow, he's a brain and a half. He was in jubilation for 20,000 shillings. I spent much more money going to see him than what I used to buy his medicine. He was waiting for this. He thought he had the cancer when he had the simple infection. So,
how would you react to the minister's statement?
Now, don't think about those. For God's sake, just even though deliver them the Almighty God is going to harvest them at His own time of choosing. I'm looking at the situation now. Go to Makindye University. I know a lecturer who is a friend of mine. You know, you have more than 500 scripts to mark. Now, if you have to mark them, of course, you need an allowance. And they advise you, should the students fail, then you will have a backlog, because the others will also come. So you find you have 1,000, the retakes, and you have, you know what I mean. And so they advise them, give them marks that will make everybody pass. Now, the one who has 10, for him to pass, you must give him 40. And so if you are going to give 40 across the board, the one who failed at 40 gets 80, which is first class. So can you imagine, through that corruption, a person who had failed now gets first class. And this is Makindye University in the open, where we all knew during our time that you couldn't go there unless you passed your name. Now there is a crisis in Uremba and they are thinking of changing systems. Because children get 4 A's. How do you get 4 A's in the 4 principal subjects? You reach in Makindye, you can't even write your name. Because the system is fake, the system is dead. Schools now are competing to have a number of many students pass what they get clients. What do? They buy exams. You see, they treat students to pass exams. So, and you know, you don't train brains, you don't train students to maneuver, to manipulate.
Government in denying the quality of education.
You see, the greatest revolutionaries of the world, including Jesus Christ himself, were teachers. And they know what it means to teach. That Jesus Christ taught multitudes and had even to give them food. I think it also applies to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. They were teachers, and they know what it means to teach. When you're going to teach, you must have your emotions, you must have your sentiments with them. And therefore, I would understand teachers when they are saying, these things are bad, we need to look after these children. But when you do it in the current situation, then you have become political. And when you have become political, then the response is to any politician. And I'm not surprised that they never got tear gas.
And what would be your take on civil society organizations coming in to boost teachers?
The actions now are political. Because you see, it's like I said, the other day lecturers wanted money. But because they put up a lot of pressure and were closing the university, and you have got more than 50,000 students, this is an army. It's near capital city, it can influence the situation, and then you have very, very ugly scenarios. You give them what they want. The other day you have another group here, it's rising up to give them what they want. Now when the teachers gain that capability, if they move towards gaining that capability, and you have to give them the money they want, then you have paralysis. Reason? Because there are many. You'll go beyond 50%, you'll go beyond 50% of the entire national budget, and you remember there must be money to steal. It's also part of them. So you'll be coaching on that.
That's budgeted for.
I'm not saying it's official, but there there must be a balance somewhere. Because you know we are dealing with cash that comes. So why are you going to use?
Nicholas, was this a success? Was this strike a success?
Yes, it was.
Did it really cause any storm? 2 days.
Yes, it was.
And the business returned to normal.
Yes, it was. And of course, first to disagree with Charles, the teachers are becoming political. First and
I was
foremost,
saying, when you do that, then you are taking the political direction.
these actions,
whether it's construed or not, that's how you are perceived.
These actions were genuine actions, genuine complaints about the quality of public education in this country that all of us know is in serious crisis. I mean, if you want to understand the serious crisis, look at Makerere University's law school pre-entry exams. The law school has become so distrustful, people who pass from A-levels, now that they actually do their own pre-entry exams. Many of them fail. They do not pass the bare minimum standard for admission to a law school. Look at people who are going into secondary education. They have high scores, but look at their performance going forward. So I think that public education in this country is in serious crisis.
It's the whole education.
The whole education system in this country is in serious crisis. And then for civil society organizations to come and join teachers is just to show solidarity.
But I think it is not just solidarity. We are the parents.
Exactly.
We are the parents of this.
The danger is not your cause. The danger is that you have organized.
You have organized.
You see, if we...
Imam, are you ready for the repercussions of your actions? Because government is saying that they are coming out on you.
Let them try. Actually, they are too late. Some people here are still sleeping because they have not trampled on them. So if they trample on them and they begin to see, then they will actually ease the whole situation.
I think that the statement of the Minister of Education should be treated with the contempt it so deserves. I think it's utterly insensitive. Many of these guys don't take their kids to public schools here. They don't.
Yes.
They don't. Because they take their kids to Ituri, take their kids out of this country, or to expensive private school. They do not understand the problem of public education in this country. I think her threats are merely empty. She needs to get down to discussing the issues on the table, which is the question of capitation grants. Can you imagine that every year the government of Uganda gives every child in UP schools 5,000 shillings in capitation grants? That is the money supposed to buy scholastic materials, supposed to buy textbooks, supposed to buy desks, supposed to buy all these things that you require to teach in a school. And mind you, this money normally comes at the end of the school term. How do you expect a school to operate? No wonder, therefore, that many schools don't have classrooms. Kids sit under mango trees to study. That cannot be a conducive atmosphere for kids to study.
No, Nicholas, this was a very rare strike. It passed off as a very peaceful strike. You know, it never really caused any disruptions anywhere. And wouldn't you suspect that maybe government did this as a plot for the public to get off this and forget about it?
Well, for a casual observer, there was no force. But I can tell you many teachers have been harassed. Teachers who you saw going back to school to teach on the days declared for strikes were teachers who were harassed. There was latent but powerful harassment of teachers across this country. That harassment began on Saturday afternoon when the Minister for Education addressed a press conference and directed security agencies to investigate these teachers. That harassment went throughout the weekend, even to Monday, up to Tuesday. There are schools at which RDCs went and began to mark teachers who were absent to force them to come back second day. So there was actually force. What you saw at the national level was a show of maturity from teachers' leadership and the civil society organizations that organized in their support.
And of course, as we are demanding for immediate action.
Yes.
But they left without getting anything.
They actually did get commitment from the Deputy Speaker of Parliament that Parliament will look into these issues. And some of these issues, Parliament has promised to come back to them in 30 days. And we are counting those days. The most important thing is this matter became a matter on the floor of the House. It was discussed and referred to a committee, and Parliament was given 30 days to respond to these teachers' demands, because some of them have implications on the budget for this year. So these issues must be addressed within the current budget framework. Parliament has promised to discuss it. That is a huge success.
No, they want to do anything.
Well, if they don't,
Parliament has no power for the budget.
Well, let's go on to another issue that also became very interesting during the week. The Eastern Youth MP led a team of other MPs to openly kickstart campaigns for the 5th term for President Yoweri Museveni. At a time when some senior MPs within the NRM are saying, let's stop talking politics now so that we can get people back to production. While religious leaders and civil society organizations are saying it's time for the president to announce his retirement plan. What do you make of this campaign?
No, you know, you say some youth MP.
Peter Gwang.
Yeah, that's why, to me, I am not in support of people of that age to be in parliament, because they have nothing to present, to give to the country in parliament yet. They have not tested anything that really shocks them, that when they are going to make a law or they are going to comment on something, they feel it. Some of them, they are themselves. No wife, no whatever, and sometimes they even don't care about their parents. They don't mind. So when they get this small pass from parliament of 15 million or 20, they think everything is done, because they don't have. They just spend it in nightclubs and attending these launches of musicians, and that's their life. So.
I'm watching Guru.
The other thing is that we have seen this. This is not new. During the time of Nuyo and Nusu, it was seen. Now we can see it, because that's why those people who went through that system will always create a powerful youth movement, thinking this is powerful, but of survivors. And you know, survivors are the worst people to live with, because for them, they care about their mouth only. They don't care about the nation. They don't care about the future. So it is saddening. You see, Rwomushana gave an example where he said that a lecturer was asked to
award 40.
And I am witness to this, because one external examiner to my paper wrote this, that you should give extra marks to these students, because if they fail, they will hate the course. I told him I don't have free marks myself, and I cannot give them. So if you think I should add some more marks, show me where I should get these marks, okay? So that I can give them on your recommendation. If you don't have, I will not, because my conscience tells me that I must never tell a lie to a student I'm teaching, because this student, if not well prepared, he will not even serve me when I need a service from him. So this young man and their colleagues,
the youth MP,
yes, this youth
the legislator who commands the constituency.
It does not command the constituency. No, they don't. These electoral colleges whereby people are brought together, and then they look at their faces and their pockets, and then they feed them with a few things. Sometimes some of these actually are sleeping on these mattresses for the first time. And then they carry them home, and therefore this is just a vote. So it is important for us to say, was this young boy, is he genuine? He's not. He thinks probably that when he says that, he could be in the next cabinet. He's a survivor, and survivors, we must not go by survivors. We must go by people who want to think for this country. Whatever other people may think, as long as we are clear in our minds, okay, we shall reach there. It may take time. It may cost some people's lives, their employment, their survival, but that does not mean that we must give up, because if we give up,
Simon, if I may,
killing the nation.
Okay, if I may, Imam, you've got to look at this in context. This comes at a time at which there have been dissent within the movement, where you have a couple of movement MPs forming their own cabinet, or what they call the shadow cabinet within the cabinet. You have a whole eastern chairman of the movement in Mike Mukula declaring his intention to contest for presidency. You have all this discussion about who should succeed Museveni, and all this discussion about Museveni must go. What do? You then have a master stroke and try and create confusion. And I think exactly what Peter Gwang is doing is exactly what Kasozi did in 2005. I think that when these things happen, they look for a clown-like a clown-like figure to just start debate. I think that Peter Ogwang, who is a former employee of State House, he's just simply being used to divert debate. I don't think he believes in that cause. And the mere fact that we are discussing this, in fact, he has succeeded in diverting the cause of this debate. Because the debate is that President Museveni must leave, we must restore term limits, we must then go back and stick to the ideals that are founding fathers of our constitution.
Charles, you look at Honorable Peter Ogwang as a political opportunist, like
if it was
Imam,
possible to have President Museveni elected easily, we should do it. Because any other serious contest is going to destroy this economy. You see, you have to look at things objectively. This is the objective situation on the ground. First and foremost, you won't have a candidate that will beat him.
Why not?
I mean, I've participated in elections. I know what it means. I know what it means. The Democratic Party, a party which is doing well, couldn't have polling agents in most of the West. The party that came closer is the Forum for Democratic Change, and I don't want to discuss those kind of, but let us be fair to them. But because the contest was serious, you saw the level of expenditure. Now, to withdraw that money from the situation and the nature, I think I understand what I mean. Now, so that's what I'm saying. Because if we are to recover, if we are going now to leave this business of politics and ensure that money, because all these are talking about,
saying the patient is suffering from serious malaria, but quinine has an effect on him. Okay. But the other drugs, we don't give this.
The other drugs. The other drugs. We can look for other drugs. But in the meantime, this tour you are talking about, if like for these are so obsessed with having Museveni leave. I mean, I'm looking at the cost. Because if you are talking about hunger zone, now I'm going to be having a parliament of 500 who will be given each maybe $1 billion to run the campaign that they will divert somewhere else. You won't have, you know what it means when a campaign becomes extremely very expensive. So if like there was a mechanism where now all of these fellows who don't want Museveni to continue, continue if need be, even we don't have elections, to me it would be much better so that we do not now divert money meant for development into this business of politicking.
So you feel come 2016, the bill for campaigns will be higher than it was in 2016?
What were you saying? That they have no power to you?
Well, not really. Democracy must be cherished in the country. Democracy must flourish.
Liberation organization handing over power to you. To me. Which liberation? Which liberation? Now, you see, so why don't you be objective? There is nobody among these that is going to jump up and down like popcorn and receive power. Forget.
Nicholas,
therefore, this means, I mean, you must be part and parcel, you must be part of that structure. Those who have tried, even who are members of the High Command, they will tell you what they have gone through.
Well, Nicholas, is this campaign likely to affect the term limit, the restoration of term limits campaign?
It is exactly intended to divert that debate. That's exactly what I say. And that's exactly what people like Peter Ogwang, a former State House employee, people like David Mafabi, have gone out to do. To begin to scare Ugandans in the same way Charles is saying here. I think it is time we begin to believe that Uganda can live post Museveni. Even if Museveni left tomorrow, if he died, God forbid, if he died tomorrow, Uganda must continue.
What do you envisage in 2016? Already Charles is indicating that the campaign is very expensive and
I mean, should you put
he doesn't have to be a coward, because I remember when he campaigned as a peasant in Makindye and he won and was sick very clear that he was a peasant. But when he was intimidated by Jim in the campaign, he became a coward, and probably because of this posting here and there and then throwing him out.
If you are going to sweep where there is a lot of dust, you get some little water and you power around. Don't sweep. It's not a question of tactics, it's a question of strategy. So if you are talking about transfer of power,
but the
you are not going to have transfer of power.
Must not be
you are not going to have
threatening the Ugandan.
Our
is tell Ugandans their rights, and then we use the rights to
I'm
not settling.
It looks like Honorable Gwang has scored. The debate is already on.
I'm not advising
just a
you.
clown in my
that
view. I think it's just a clown.
Forget if you have not built capacity. Forget that there is anybody who is going to hand over power to you.
Well, let's go on to another issue.
If I want to make my last speech on that, Peter Gwang's statement is really an indictment of the quality of people in the NRM. Really, for youth MP to begin to say, you know, nobody can succeed, can lead this country, is an indictment on the good guys who are in the movement.
He's entitled to his MP
opinion. He's entitled to his opinion, and I think that his political, his opinion borders on political power.
No, let's be fair. What is not absurd? Michael Kagwa of the radical wing of the Democratic Party was agitating for the opening up of political space to multipartyism.
Yes.
Dr. Kawanga Semogerere, who was the president of the Democratic Party and the Minister of Internal Affairs, what was his statement? He said, I can't forsake my brother, President of Museveni. Look, walk and go hang. And the helicopter was hovering at the square. And you now enjoying multipartyism. So this is not a question of age. This MP has said this, and your age has said even worse.
Does he have a point?
What?
Does Honorable Gwang have a point?
They are politicians.
Okay. Now the last issue. This week we saw a group of MPs coming out to condemn a government for taking a very lackluster approach towards corruption by, in a way, questioning officials of government who've been implicated in cases of corruption. Among the MPs who pronounced themselves on this matter was Honorable Jim Muhwezi, the former Minister for Health.
Talk about a monkey speaking about food.
What did he say?
He said that government should not protect the corrupt. Instead, they should be tried in the courts of law.
The same way he was himself.
What do you make of this, Imam?
I think whether it was said by Muhwezi or who, I don't mind. What is most important? Does it have value? Yes. If he's saying it optimistically, then that is the problem. But if he's saying it that we need to create values on which to base our future, I think he has a point. Therefore, it is time for many more other people to stand up, to realize probably he has repented.
He hasn't even been found guilty.
Yeah. You see, my view is radically different. My view is that if it was possible, we would expand all these laws relating to anti-corruption from the law books. If it was possible, we shouldn't even have any judge presiding over these cases of corruption, because what you are having is a mockery of justice. That you bring Professor Gilbert Bukenya in court and all the witnesses of the state come and say, he didn't steal the money, it is we who stole. And he's acquitted. Now you had even this case of the Jim and that group, how the witnesses were behaving. There was no, but the president is the complainant. It is the head of the state of the Republic of Uganda who complained to the IGG, and the IGG found there was loss. One of the accused, Madam Alice Kaboyo, conceded. I took this, I returned it, and now then you have state, including permanent secretaries. There were audits, the auditor general didn't find any loss, there is no loss, and this is what you're going to be having. But then you have a poor Cheye, for him they become extremely very thorough and sentence him to 100 years plus. We should now say, for specific people of the quotations of this world, whether they're involved in corruption, you need to try them. Because to try them, you will be a mockery of justice. Is to create confusion within the judges. That's when they will realize the IGG is not fully constituted. But in Cheye's case, it was fully what? It was fully constituted. And when Jim makes these good statements, there will never be a conviction. And I can comfortably tell you it won't be.
Alright, Nick, over to you.
Well, I don't believe these MPs. I don't believe them. I think that if MPs are serious about the fight against corruption, they ought to do more than just come and make press statements. They are the same MPs who acquit people who have been found to have stolen government money. They're the same MPs who are unwilling to investigate the number one office in this country on issues of corruption.
Right.
I think we need to demonstrate political commitments to try corrupt cases.
Now, the final one, in just a minute, the good, the bad, and the worst of the week. The ugly of the week.
The ugly of the week. We lost Sheikh Hakim Sechimpi, a young man who I think was forward looking and had some hope for the Muslim community.
Good.
I don't know. The good is that Ramadan has come.
Okay, great. Charles.
I'm still alive. The Almighty God is great. I've also seen President Bill Clinton on Kampala roads. He was looking nice.
Returned 14 years later.
I've also seen
received by the same president.
You can see President Nelson Mandela is 94. When you live for good virtues, you live longer. These ones who think they will have the whole stomach, the whole world in their stomach, the whole earth in their stomach, they will become part of soil and as quickly as possible.
And the ugly?
The ugly, my enemies are in disarray.
I think we need to pay respect to Uganda's first ambassador in the UK, Mzee Lord Andrew Ademola, who passed away. He's going to be buried tomorrow in his home in Goli. He was in the CA, and that's a sad loss for his country, and may his soul rest in eternal peace. The good for me is the election of Madame Zuma as the as the AU Commission chairperson. I think that the cause for justice, the friction between Southern African states and Northern African state on the issues of justice will then come to a close by election.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Unfortunately, you couldn't exhaust all the issues, but it was nice having you in the studio. None of you has talked about the Butambala County by-elections that are set to be held pretty soon. But thank you, and have a lovely weekend. To our listeners, it was nice being with you. Catch you on Monday, same time on Spectrum. Good night.
Thank you.